from this discount model has helped.
Right, we'll sure keep our eyes on other earnings that are likely to come out this week. Thank you very much for your time, Janelle. We'll move on now to the U.S., where the stock index futures pointed to a relatively flat open today as investors prepared themselves for a slew of data announcements and speeches by members of the U.S. Federal Reserve. On the data front, the National Federation of Independent Business Small Businesses Optimism Index is due out at about 6 a.m. That should be out by now, followed by, that's Eastern Time, followed by wholesale trade and the Labor Department's job openings and labor turnover survey report at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Sticking with financial news, PepsiCo, of course, has sent out its report for today. And looking to the central banking space, a number of U.S. Federal Reserve members will be delivering speeches today. Fed Governor Lael Brainerd will be speaking at the Normalizing Central Bank's Balance Sheets Conference at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where she is expected to talk about monetary policy. Meanwhile, Minneapolis Fed President Anil Kashkari will be at the Minnesota Women's Economic Roundtable event in Minneapolis. Meanwhile, investors will be keeping a close eye on Washington for any more political noise coming out of the White House as the Russia-linked scandal continues to rumble on. And the futures numbers there are looking somehow mixed but flat. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 0.03%. S&P 500 tilting positive 0.09%. And the Nasdaq 0.38% up as at the last check. In Asia, most indices there made gains today, with the yen falling to its weakest levels in around 4 months against the dollar. The Nikkei 225 rose 0.57% to end at 20,195.48. That came as traders eyed the interest rate differential between U.S. Treasuries and Japanese government bonds as the U.S. Federal Reserve appeared set to pursue a more hawkish policy, while the Bank of Japan continued its quantitative easing to keep rates in Japan low. In South Korea, the Kospi gained 0.58% to close at 2,396 points. The Australian ASX 200 finished the session up 0.08%. Markets in Greater China were mixed. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advanced 1.5%, but mainland markets trended lower. The Shanghai Composite slipped 0.29% and the Shenzhen Composite declined 0.72%. Meanwhile, the CSI 300 Index, which tracks the performance of 50 blue-chip stocks traded in Shanghai, rose 0.48%, hitting an 18-month high. And away from the markets here in Nigeria, the gross domestic product is forecast to hit $595 billion by 2020, and that's according to the latest Africa Investment Index 2016 released by Quantum Global. With a current GDP of $415 billion, Quantum Global says Nigeria still has prospects despite the current economic challenges. The research firm believes government's investment in infrastructure will boost the government of the growth of the economy and meet the needs of a large Nigerian growth population. The country attracted a net foreign direct investment of $3.1 billion in 2015. And the International Monetary Fund says Morocco's macroeconomic indicators indicate the country is ready to introduce a flexible exchange rate, but delaying the introduction is not a problem. Morocco, the region's biggest energy importer, has been working with a technical mission from the IMF on liberalizing its currency regime after a drop in global oil prices helped strengthen its finances. 2 weeks ago, Morocco's central bank postponed a planned announcement of the first phase of the reform for a few days. The central bank gave no reason for the delay. But last week, Prime Minister said the government needed further studies of the liberalization plan. The Prime Minister has dismissed speculation that the liberalization plan ran into problems and denied reports that one reason for the delay was a depletion of foreign reserves by $4.4 billion in the last 2 months. And in Namibia, the central bank lowered its 2017 growth forecast to 2.1% from its previous view of 2.9%, citing uncertainty around the pace of recovery in the price of uranium. The Southern African country's economy hardly grew last year, slumping from a more than 5% expansion a year earlier due to deep contractions in construction, uranium and diamond industries. Spot prices of uranium used to fuel nuclear reactors dipped to a 13-year low last year and have rebounded only modestly in 2017. They have stayed stubbornly weak since a 2011 tsunami in Japan led to the shutdown of all the country's nuclear reactors. And Egypt's core inflation rose to 31.95% year-on-year in June from 30.57% in May. Over the same period, annual urban consumer price inflation rose slightly to 29.8% from 29.7%. Egypt abandoned its currency peg to the US dollar on November 3 in a dramatic move that has since seen the currency depreciate roughly by half. Egypt hiked fuel prices on June 29 by up to 50% to help meet the terms of a $12 billion International Monetary Fund loan agreement. And Tanzania's inflation slowed to 5.4% year-on-year in June from 6.1% a month earlier due to slower rises in food prices. The food and non-alcoholic beverages inflation rate fell to 9.6% in June from 11.6% in May. Food has the largest weight in the basket of goods and services used to calculate Tanzania's inflation. Month-on-month inflation fell by 0.1% in June from 0.2% previously. We'll be back in a moment. To stay with us.